Mensuri Gakusei. Thank you for tuning in to Mizuchi Dojo Radio, a weekly podcast featuring discussions between the best martial artists in Western Europe, if not the entire world, on a variety of martial arts concepts. I'm your host, Bill Reynolds, and joining me today are these panelists. We have Mr. Rob Guida, trained since 2010, owner-operator of MSD Kenpo Karate since 2012, second-degree black belt in Kenpo Karate. Also, we have Jake Rozler, who has been training since 2005, a fourth-degree black belt in ITF Taekwondo. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. The topic we're going to get into is what made, in your opinion, for the best instructors you've ever trained with. This is our season 2 finale episode. A time, I guess, to like look back and reminisce on the great things that happened in our martial arts careers. And of course, the big one would be the great instructors we've ever worked with. And since it's just currently you two on the panel, you got a lot of time to be able to like hype up the people that you thought did it best. We'll go alphabetically on this one. So, Rob, Hajime.
Are we using the
I was
English
going to argue
alphabet?
wherever Jake said, so I thought he was going to go first. No, Patterson isn't good. I had it already.
Wow, what's that? We didn't. This is not an episode on who sucked. It's an episode
He's
on.
not here, so I can say whatever. Patterson
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah. He's not even going to be an instructor in like another week.
I
Wow,
know
that
it worked out perfect. I can say it.
dang.
Uh, okay, the best.
Wait,
So
and just
I
for
work with
our
some really
listening
good.
audience who isn't at all the things that are happening here that are hot and cool in Western New York martial arts, I thought you were like sort of a mastermind, Rob, but behind honoring Master Patterson before he hung up his belt.
Well, I mean, I wasn't the mastermind. I just think, when people retire, I mean, it's the Army and me, they deserve an award. They deserve recognition for what they've done, And so whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, when someone spends 15 years of their life, committed to teaching martial arts to a community, they deserve something they can put on their shelf for recognition.
Heck
And
yeah,
so
that was
it was
very
nice
cool.
to give them a nice statue of a buffalo because we're in Buffalo, obviously. And I forget what it said, but I'm sure it was brilliant.
I think you've just started a Western New York tradition, Rob.
Look, I mean, like, you know, how many times can you honor somebody that's retiring and not dying out of the art? So, I mean, the reality is, I mean, most of us train until we die, and then it's too late to give us something.
Right?
So, it's kind of nice to be able to do it for someone who had an impact and was a great martial artist and friend.
Oh, well, it's too bad he's not here, but I understand he's basically helping his kids with their sports interests.
That's what he
I,
says. It's
I,
winter outside though.
I would like to point out that Rob said that he was a great martial artist and friend, but did not say he was a great instructor.
Oh
So
no, he sucked as an instructor. I'm ready to argue that point.
Okay, so Rob, to your mind, go ahead, drop names. Who, in your opinion, was one of the best instructors you worked with, and was it about them and or their style of training that makes you feel that way about them?
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna rattle off the first two.
Oh,
One most people are gonna hate me for, but I'm gonna say Tim Hartman. And the reason why Tim is in the group is because he has said things to me over the years that really made me think, not about training martial, not about modern Arnis, but about how we train, why we train, the why of what we do, and the scenarios and reality based of how we should approach how we're teaching. So he's really really made me think about how that all plays into what we do with our students. So he's really kind of had an impact in my methodology and how I train people. Um, Another one, before I get to my last one, which is my current teacher, Jason Arnold, who is probably, I mean, you guys don't know Jason, but probably one of the top Kenpoists in the country,
hmm.
sought after for, I'm kind of building him up here, he'd be embarrassed, but sought after for seminars all over the place. He's at eighth degree, I think, in Kenpo right now, or testing for his eighth. He's a minor niece, fifth or sixth. He's uh I think he's going to kill me. Salat black belt, and I think something else. So super knowledgeable, super good guy. And Kenpo wise, like he just has the techniques down, and he really helped me kind of get on the right path of knowing um what I should and shouldn't do with some of my Kenpo material. But my current instructor by far, and here's the reason why. Mrs. C is first of all, she's an old school Kenpo person. She trained in Red Parker. Her knowledge is unmatched. But sometimes it's not about the knowledge you have, it's about how you can convey it. And so she is by career a teacher, and that gives her a very unique way of conveying information. And sometimes, like, Kempo is a very intellectual art. It's having somebody that has a teaching background that can convey that information a certain way. You can understand it, if that makes sense. So you're not just copying moves, but you're really understanding kind of what's going on in the background. And I really think her teaching background gave her a unique perspective on how to teach the art to other people. So that by far has been my most impactful and best teacher.
So it sounds like you said one instructor in your mind was one of the best because they made you think about how we teach. The other was that they were very knowledgeable with techniques, but the
Technical, very technical.
very technical. And the third one was they actually were a trained and professional teacher.
Right. Yeah, and I'll give you an example. Hartman said something to me once that really made me think about it. He's like, we're not fighting assassins in the street. And it was such an obvious statement, right?
Hmm.
But it made me really think about it, right? I'm like, he's right. We're not fighting assassins. I mean, like, what are we doing? Like, we're trying to teach self-defense. Average people in a very unaverage situation, they're not fighting assassins. So, it just changes how you have to think about your training methodology somewhat. You don't need to worry about a guy taking a knife and switching to his other hand and jumping to his other hand and doing a spin heel kick. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to happen because you're not going to see that. You're going to see some crazy roundhouse punch or some other thing, whatever. But so he made me really think about, the reasons of what we're doing and why, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, in our school, we think about I think five different types of possible attackers, and we do identify that there is the professional killer, but also identify that if that we're in that situation, we're probably dead. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
you're
and
just not
so
gonna
things
you're not
like
gonna see them
that,
come in, and
you're not going to see him coming. You're going to be dead, so it doesn't make a difference.
yeah,
Once you come with your
you don't yeah, don't bother to train for that guy or woman,
yeah,
because it's just pointless. All
right.
right, good opening thoughts. Jake, uh, what are your opening thoughts?
I don't know. I feel really unprepared for this one. I'm not great at
Wow,
just
Henderson
like
you
sucks.
don't like any instructor you've ever had. That's
not at all the case. No,
okay.
I'm not great at like expressing my emotions just on the spot.
Mm.
So I'm
Well, you don't
I'm
have to get all mushy on us. Just tell us.
I'm gonna get a little mushy on you.
Gee whiz.
I've actually kind of been thinking about this a little bit over the past few days. So I would say I've had two main instructors. I've dabbled in a whole bunch of stuff, and I've been to a couple other schools in other states and whatnot. But I've had two main instructors, right? So Master Cross was my first instructor, and then obviously Master Patterson is my current. Soon to have a third instructor, so looking forward to that. But there's like Rob said, you have to be able to know how to teach. Um, and I think I've kind of been explaining this to some of my fellow students the last few days here. Like it's not just enough to know the move, right? Um, you've got to know, how do I break this down? How do I get this into manageable bites so that somebody who doesn't know it can learn it? And that really is a key part of things because you already know what you're doing, right? You already know the move. To you, there's a lot of assumptions that you're making without even realize you're doing it, that the new person isn't going to be able to make. They don't have that knowledge yet. So knowing how you can break things down, one of the things that uh, I learned from Patterson, and I think he got it from Dave Kovar, is knowing how to disguise the repetition, right? So as a, nobody wants to throw front kick for an entire class, right? It's boring, it's annoying. And as an instructor, you don't want to teach just front kick for 1, 2, 3, however many months, right? So knowing how to disguise that repetition so that the student's still throwing the front kick, but they're not sitting there being like, "Oh, we're throwing front kick again. This is awful." That's a really big part of it. Having the I'm going to say technical aptitude. That's not exactly correct, but I I think I'm a pretty technical martial artist. I think both of my instructors have been very technical martial artists, and I think that's an important part of it because knowing if you're going to throw a side kick, right? Let's say there are 10 details to a good side kick, right? If you only know 5 of them, you're not going to be able to instruct your students in a way that they can learn how to throw a good side kick. Throw a mediocre side kick, but you really need to know and understand all of those details. I don't necessarily think you need to understand the why behind every one of them. Yes, it is important, but I mean, if you say this too much, you're a bad instructor. But I think it's okay to say every now and then, that's just how it's done, right? I actually get that from my Aikido instructor a lot. So I guess I do have 3 instructors. But his kendo sensei is an 80-year-old Japanese man from Japan, and he'll ask Sensei Kimura like, "Why are we doing it like this?" And Kimura just says, "Ah, that's how they say they do." I was like, that's just how it's done, right? So understanding the why for most things, and then lastly, you you need to have a passion for it. If you are your your energy is what the class is going to feed off of. So if you're up there and you're like, "Man, I hate doing this. I'm miserable," you're going to teach a bad class. Your students are going to have a bad class. And more importantly, from a business standpoint, I know I've said this on the podcast before, every class, you need to sell your students on why they are paying you. I can go to Planet Fitness for $20 a month. Why am I paying sometimes even 10 times that to go to a martial arts class? I actually just had somebody say to me, we were during Friendsgiving, right? I got together with a former student, and he had mentioned like, oh, he really didn't like taking classes from one instructor we had because even though the guy was a very knowledgeable like fitness instructor, he wasn't a super knowledgeable martial arts instructor. And the guy said to me, I'm not paying for an exercise class. I'm paying for a martial arts class. So being knowledgeable, having that passion, understanding the why for most things, and knowing how to break it down into bite-sized pieces, I think that's what really sets a good instructor apart from a great instructor.
For you, right?
No, for everyone.
Oh,
This is a
okay.
universal truth.
All right, fair, Jake. All right, I understand how Taekwondo thinks. All right, fair enough. I guess since you've hit all the universal truths, there's not much more to add. For myself, um, I've worked with many instructors, and let's see. I guess one thing I've appreciated, we'll say, for Shifu Mark Stoddard, um, is a very patient fellow who really strives to have you feel the techniques. So he takes the time with you to like make sure that you're understanding and feeling the technique. And I think, and he does it with this very like gentle, positive, sort of grounded manner that just makes you sort of feel like you're, I don't know, safe so that you can experiment and try things that you're not normally used to. This idea of like sitting into your stance and having your center line drop down from the top of your head through blah blah blah. You know, I just like his way is very nice. And then an, another person not mentioned tonight, probably because you guys don't have any reason to interact with him. My master, Jim Svetskovsky, the owner operator of Western York Karate Center. The thing I appreciate about him as an instructor, I guess in addition to all the things that have already been mentioned, is that he he would take personal time to help me in my journey. You know, if we were doing something on the floor. He would call me into his office either before class, after class, because he'd been thinking about something we had said or something I'd asked him about. Um, and then he would lend me books. He would give me the names of people, introduce me to other martial artists. He really, I would say, I would call him a mentor. That he really worked to get me integrated within at least the Isshin-Ryu karate community in this area, and then but then would give me books beyond this that really inspired the way I think about martial arts and understand what training is supposed to be, the difference between, like you mentioned a few moments ago, the very classic traditional way of thinking, which is like, why do we do it this way, master? Because that's what we do. That's there's no, do not question, just replicate perfectly traditional versus the classical period before them and then the contemporary stuff since. But uh, I'm glad he wasn't a traditional instructor, that he was much more in the classical mind frame. Um, yeah. So that's but that's because I like that. But I don't think that necessarily makes him a good instructor for everyone. It makes a good instructor for me because he was more into that sort of mindset. But I will say what makes probably is a characteristic that I would think would make for any great instructor is one that takes the time to get to know the student, know what they want to do, where they want to go, and tries to help them get there. I think, versus just looking at them as another, whatever you said, $200 a month coming through the door. Um, so I think that's my thought. Okay, let's open this up to greater discussion. Rob, you brought up Mrs. C a lot, and I always, of course, think of Richie Cunningham's mom. Um, So is that how she looks? Does she look like that? What was the actress Marion something? Um,
No, no, she's a badass. Google her. Yeah, Master Doreen Diorenzo.
will I
Yeah, I mean she
find a
was
Yeah,
mugshot of
why?
her or something, or what? What do I?
What?
What's her
no, I
last
mean
name?
there's articles all over the internet about her. I mean, like,
Good
I
ones.
don't know if I could. What's that?
What's the last name again?
Doreen Di Renzo. Spelling always kicks my ass. Dirienzo.
Yeah, why do you call her Mrs. C?
So her. It's a good question. So when she was married before, her last name is Cogliardo. Don't quote me on that. She might beat me up. But she went by Mrs. C because no one could say it. Then when she got divorced, she kept the Mrs. C because that's what everybody knew her as. So everybody still calls her Mrs. C.
That's her fighting
Gotcha.
name. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you Google her, you'll find, I don't even know, Masters Magazine articles and different things all about her.
Hmm.
No, she was a badass back in the day. She still is.
Yeah. Oh, where does she train now?
She owns a school in Boston, Revere Temple
Boston,
Karate, Boston,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Whoa.
I
Okay.
I think this is a really good time to point out. I know I've done this with all of the instructors I've chosen for myself as opposed to the ones my parents chose for me. Although I think that this played a part in it as well. It sounds like this is something that Rob is doing, is finding specifically going to a specific instructor. Um,
Oh,
I just saw.
definitely.
Yeah, I just saw a YouTube video, which was, oh, how to decide what martial art's right for you, right? And oftentimes the conversation is kind of pick what you want to do if you're not sure, maybe striking, maybe grappling, just kind of have like a general sense, and then find one that's close to you and affordable.
Hmm.
Like that's the general advice for how do I know where to start? And yeah, that's great general advice, definitely to start. But as you progress, right, recognizing, oh, I want to train with this person specifically. I absolutely did that with Patterson. I absolutely doing that with Sensei Matt, my Iaido instructor. Um, I'm even excited that the canes are coming in because I when I trained a little bit with Grandmaster Kane, he explained things to me in a way that I'd never thought about in the 20 years I've been training. So excited to get their perspective on things. And it doesn't matter if they're close by. It doesn't matter. All those other things go to the wayside, right? I want to train with this person specifically, and I'm going to find a way to do that.
And the internet makes it easy now.
Hmm.
I mean, like I could have never trained with her 10 years ago. Like it just wouldn't have. There was no platform to do that. Now, a couple times a month, we get on Zoom just like this, and I mean, she doesn't. It'd be really hard to learn, I think, from nothing.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like going from nothing to her tutelage. But I mean, like if you already have experience, you're already a black belt. Like it's the perfect way of correcting, tweaking, explaining. It's the perfect platform for doing that.
Hmm. And that's no, I think that's interesting too. I remember when I needed to take a break from karate, I specifically went to Tim Hartman and trained with him for a while. Um, and and I'll say this, and it's pretty much the same thing. Like since then, Datu Tim is, acts something as a mentor towards me. Like I said, making sure introducing me to people, as you know, with this podcast. I mean, when he's brought in celebrity martial artists, he makes sure that I get an opportunity to interview them, to put them on the show.
Yeah.
But we talked about taking a trip to the Philippines together. Um, it's certainly our relationship is no longer one of instructor and student. That was quite a while back, but I don't know, maybe that's another good thing about a really good instructor is that relationship continues whether you're actively training with them or not. That they don't forget about you, and they
Yeah.
they try to keep tabs on you and see how you're doing in your martial arts career.
Yeah,
I think
and
there's another side of this too, which is really interesting, but it's also why it's so hard to find good teachers, assistant teachers. I can find someone to run a class, fine, whatever. But I'm talking about like how do you find somebody who think of all the things we talked about today. How do you find that one person in a million that can be pretty good at martial arts, good at interacting with people, good with kids, good with adults, good with relationships, makes people feel welcome? You know what I mean? Like it's really hard to find, in my mind, it's really hard to find a good martial arts instructor.
Well, I think you're talking beyond good. You're talking about like like we're saying, one of the best.
I'd be happy with good. You know what I
Okay. Well,
mean?
good because
Like
I hope I can like fit in that category because I have mixed feelings about working with children. I both love it and sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this?
well, it
But
depends on your school,
well
but
then I like work with the kids and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why I like working with kids. Kids are cool.
yeah,
But it's certainly nothing I would have imagined getting into this.
yeah, the kids are so much more rewarding than the adults. I love the
Oh,
adult classes, but seeing the kids grow and develop, and I don't know, I
maybe
always
I'm
loved
old
that
enough
part.
now that even my adults look that way to me. I said, oh, look at
I
them
mean,
growing up.
I've got kids that started with me at 6 and now they're 18 and they're still going with me and I'm hoping that in 10 years they bring their own kids. You know what I mean? Like I think
Aw,
starting with kids
Grandpa
is
Kenpo.
yeah, I know, right? I've got one couple that met in my school and got married and they both quit and I'm still pissed off about that because they both been met at my goddamn school. They should still be going to Kenpo. But it is rewarding seeing them grow. You know what I mean? Like adults, I love teaching adults. Don't get me wrong, but like seeing someone grow from 6 to 8 years old to 18 in the art and in life is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and being
yeah.
able to change your relationship with either your instructor or your student as that growing happens, as that aging happens, that development happens.
Definitely.
You know, I don't know that I ever when I started training with Master Patterson and teaching for him, it was pretty much always a peer-to-peer relationship. Whereas with my instructor, Master Cross, it was always an instructor-student relationship, even when I was working for him. And I don't know that we ever would have grown out of that. I think it always would have been that way. So, and Master Cross was great, right? But everybody has fault somewhere. Nobody's perfect. Um, that's one of the things I would say also separates like great from good is being able to change how you're helping and interacting with your students as their needs change
Yeah,
and
that's a
being
good
able to
point.
identify those needs, right? That's another thing we haven't talked about, but is also equally important. I mean, if you have a lesson plan and then, you've got a 70-year-old who shows up for class, yeah, you need to be able to tweak your lesson plan on the fly, right? Conversely, if you've got a lesson plan and it's only, the one kid who wants to become a professional fighter, again, tweak your lesson plan on the fly so that you can give them what they're looking for. You can give them what they need.
Mm. Yeah, being flexible.
Hmm. Also
Yeah,
being
I
able to
do.
check high, yeah,
Yeah.
flexible.
I honestly, Bill, I think it's a unique skill set to be a good martial arts teacher. I think it's truly unique.
Hmm.
Just to be good versus like we're saying the best.
Just to be good, not even great, just to be a good martial arts instructor. I think it's a very unique skill set.
It's interesting too, and I can see that we're running towards the end of time, but I thought about like way back when I think it was like a second or third degree black belt, and um, I was challenging the idea that at least locally, and I think probably nationally, if not internationally, there seems to be at least in karate this tendency to as soon as somebody reaches a first degree black belt to call them sensei, and classically you don't. The instructor teacher is a higher rank. For us, it's a fourth degree. And before that, since as you mentioned, is assistant instructor, and before that, it's just the term sort of translates to really interested, invested, advanced student. First and second degree black belts. That's
They're a really interested student.
yeah, yeah, they're very interested in this stuff. So but it because I was thinking, you just getting that black belt, putting it on your first degree, you're not a teacher. How, and as you're sort of pointing out, you might never be. You might not have all the stuff. You might not be good with kids and adults and being flexible in your lesson plan and
You might be a
caring
bad
about
teacher.
them. Yeah,
You just
yeah,
might be a bad teacher. It's a skill set.
yeah. You can still be a martial artist. You can be a great martial artist and
Be a
become
great
a
martial artist.
yeah. But yeah, not everybody's going to be that even good teacher, as you're saying.
Right.
That's fair. I don't. Why not set the bar at just let's be at least good teachers to our students. So
I,
what's your advice then, you guys, for somebody who finds himself in a position where, for whatever reason, they're being asked to teach? How do they get better? I mean, do they just try to be these things that we mentioned tonight, or is there any like skills other than going to teachers college and getting the official skills?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, like I have one person that's been helping me teach now for a few years. She's been with me for 12 years, and I have given her guidance and advice. I watch her classes, and I don't try to turn it into me because I recognize that you're not going to teach like me, you got to teach like you. But here's what works and doesn't work in what you're doing. And I think if you want to be a good teacher, you really got to like link up with someone who can teach you how to teach. It's just it's too hard to learn it on your own, right? Like the army taught me how to teach. I didn't learn how to teach on my own. The army taught me how to teach. And if you can link up with a teacher, with an instructor that's willing to let you teach and to help you teach, that's the probably the best way of learning it.
Hmm.
Short of some formal education process that, like you mentioned, getting a teaching degree and learning the different methods of conveying information and learning different listening methods and all those other things that we talk about in intellectual circles that no one talks about on the mats. So short of that, find someone who's willing to teach you, how to convey the information, how to
Hmm.
teach.
Hmm. Sounds like
Yeah.
maybe a workshop that would be popular.
And hope that even though they're willing to teach you how to teach, hope they're good at teaching. Because you got to
Well,
get that part right too.
maybe we gotta identify one of these ones we already sit among the best to do a workshop on this. Jake, you had some thoughts on this before we go into final
I
thoughts?
yeah, I was gonna agree. I mean, learn from
You can't
somebody
agree.
who's
You have to argue.
Oh yes, he
That's the
wants you to be the
rule.
heel.
I mean, I learned from somebody. I've never taken any formal classes on how to teach. So I mean there are tools out there, right? I mean, all of the super successful instructors, they all have te resources. I actually have somewhere on my shelf here. I have a book from Dave Kovar, the martial arts instructor's handbook or toolbox or something like that. And it's filled with all sorts of stuff on how to teach, how to get how to do the business side of stuff too. But you know, linking up with somebody who can not just can teach you how to teach, but is willing to,
Hmm.
Yeah.
right?
I'll
Because
put a link to that book in our show notes.
And
okay,
and
yeah, I'll pull that
he
up in a
reminded me of
second.
something. I will provide one little piece of advice for anybody. Don't don't hook up with one of those organizations that say they're gonna, charge you $1,200 a month and mentor you in how to run your school. Don't do that.
Mm.
I'm not saying they're bad. They're not gonna help you learn how to teach.
Hmm.
Like that's a completely different thing. You got to find someone who's going to sit there on the floor with you and watch you teach. You have to like have personal interaction with that person. Here's what you did right and wrong. Let's talk about the class.
Mm.
And those organizations can't do that, right? Like they're going to say, here's our cookie cutter, here's our methodology, and use this, and good luck.
All right. Any other thoughts? All
Patterson
right.
sucks.
Okay. With that, I'll say then, Yame. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, listeners, for your attention. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic, and you can share them to our threads, Mizuchi_dojo, or you can email us at mizuchi.dojo.hanbu@gmail.com. Also, check out the show notes for some of our panelists. You may find information there on how you can contact them directly. Also, please consider supporting this podcast by subscribing via our Patreon for $1 a month to not only help keep this podcast on the air, but our dollar subscribers can vote on what topic they want the panel to discuss in the next recording session, and even higher contributors can have their feedback right on air, or feedback, and even higher contributors can get a regular shout out for the martial arts school of their choice. You can find more information in our show notes as well as our Patreon page. Mata Yasai.